Hello and welcome to the latest field service news webcast. And we are very pleased today to be joined by Cliff Adams, Steve Priestley, and Bob Ashenbrenner. We've got an excellent conversation that the guys are going to have, and then we'll kind of dive into a little bit of a panel discussion towards the end. My name's Kris Oldland. I'm the editor-in-chief of Field Service News, and I'm very pleased to be your host today. And a big thank you to Xplore Technologies, who are our sponsor and partner for this webcast. Let's dive straight in. I'm going to hand across to Steve Priestley. Steve, over to you.
Thanks very much, Chris. Hi, this is Steve Priestley. I'm VP of International Sales at Xplore Technologies. Today I'm joined by Cliff Adams, our product manager, and Bob Ashenbrenner, president of Durable Mobility Technologies, LLC. I'd like to welcome you to this discussion of the ideal product for a mobile workflow. Today we are at a very interesting junction. Changes in technologies, software and customer needs is causing a major shift in the types of products offered. And Xplore has excelled at delivering slate tablets, and we still do. But now, mid-2018 is the right time to introduce additional products. You'll hear about how handhelds are changing, driven by the fast shift to Android, and we'll discuss the logical next step after the rugged notebook. Xplore has over 20 years of experience supporting mobile workers, but we recognize that every customer is different and there is not a one-size-fits-all answer. Some companies have taken consumer design products, added a protective case and waterproofing, and declared that they support mobile working. Not only are these not likely to survive very long in the field, they are often a bad fit. A product not intended for field use but marketed that way. Xplore has always started from the ground up to make products which directly address the needs of mobile workers, and these products are diverging because the needs of customers is changing. Xplore has been notable in the rugged mobility space for the wide array of tablets offered. This has been a direct response to feedback from our customers. Many customers have unique needs and situations, so rather than offering one 10-inch tablet, for example, and declaring it the right tablet for every need, Xplore offered multiple tablets. These tablets were of different sizes, provided different IOs and different accessories, and allowed customers to find the best match to solve their problems in the field. Now, this focus on customer input has driven Xplore to develop new categories of product, including a handheld and a true two-in-one. Maybe I shouldn't say product as much as product line, since each of these has been thought through for the workflow they address, each having a set of accessories, docks, I/O and capabilities to match the needs of our customers. We realize the first mission of a mobile device is to be there for the worker, to survive, maybe even best put us to prevail. And this slide shows what we mean. To be useful and used every day, it must have a certain number of key attributes. It must be high performing, running today and tomorrow's applications. It has to be rugged and designed that way from the ground up. Every screw, every cable, every solder joint has to be ergonomic, easy to use, easy to carry. Versatile. While the role of a mobile device may be simple when first deployed, it is very common to see new uses and applications layered over time. And it's important that the device works as well with these new applications as it did the first time it was deployed. Having shared accessories, always having the right accessory available, ample I/O, connected to anything and everything needed to do the job, and long platform longevity. Whilst most rollouts are planned for a 3-year life, it's common for us at Xplore to see platforms in use for 5 or 7 years. To support the mission of field factory utility and public safety work, only rugged devices can be counted on day in and day out. And if we take the example of 7 years, the device has to be available for all 2,556 days over that 7-year period. And most importantly, ruggedness is the ability to survive drops, shocks, and other physical abuse, plus being impervious to fine dust and water intrusion, and that at levels at or above what these mobile workers will experience. So let's get into our newest and smallest mobile device, the M60 handheld, discussed by Cliff Adams, product manager at Xplore. Cliff.
Thank you, Steve. So handheld devices are undergoing a rebirth in the industry right now, mostly because a new class of devices that are no longer encumbered by the legacy of Windows CE support. One of the big challenges in the handheld space is a move away from custom use devices using dedicated operating systems like Windows CE, and thus forced to use one-off software applications, while Fine to automate repetitive tasks, they really don't offer a large productivity breakthrough. Where Android has established itself is as a go-to operating system for handhelds, and this has unleashed a wide array of vendors writing applications for these mobile workers. A handheld unencumbered by support of obsolete software can be a true platform that can address today's workflow needs and also be a platform for new and varied applications. And that is exactly what Xplore has done with our new design, the M60. Engineered full support of Android 8, the latest version, but stock Android needs to be improved to best support commercial customers. So Xplore has actually enhanced the M60's Android version. Think of it as a ruggedized version of Android. So it keeps business and personal data completely separate on Android devices. It enables the encryption of the whole Android device using technology similar to PC device encryption. And you can create a work profile that isolates the work data from personal data, so you're not commingling that information. And it uses a mobile device management, or is capable of using mobile device management services to connect to the Android for Work profile, allowing whitelisted applications to be installed and remote management so that it will fit into an enterprise environment. And this is called Android for Work. A handheld can be used all day long, carried easily in one hand, and supports critical applications such as barcode scanning and high-resolution photography. And while it looks very similar to a smartphone, it's really not. This is designed from the ground up to be a workhorse mobile device. Xplore ensured that it would meet the needs of its customers. And the M60 is tested to ensure that it will stand up to real-world conditions. So we test to a drop height of 5 feet. It's rated IP68. It is sufficient for really any outdoor conditions and weather that a worker would encounter. So it's IP68 sealed and enable protection against rain and dust, and even survive if it's dropped into a puddle of water. And when it's sunny, the M60's vibrant 6-inch full high-definition view anywhere screen will be readable. That 6-inch screen easily shows the real-time data needed by mobile professionals, and really we found that the 6-inch is the right size, that it's still small enough and lightweight that you can easily transport it, hold it all day, put it in a pocket, but it's also large enough that you can view the business applications that you need to be fully functional in the field. And since handhelds are so small, they're often thrown into bags and to see the trucks and just handled very roughly. And to prove that the M60 will suffer no harm when it's in these conditions, what we've done is actually tested to a tumble test, is what it's called. So we test 1,000 tumbles, with each tumble being 1.5 feet. So it's a very important test that we do to maintain confidence that this device will survive in the field. The M60 also has a barcode scanner that is a true scan engine. It's designed for fast and accurate reading and scan data manipulation. A lot of smartphones use camera-based scanning, but that is notoriously slow and error-prone. Cameras don't see barcodes in shadows or if clear tape is over them, but a handheld isn't a smartphone. It's a designed for device with a scan engine designed to see virtually any barcode. So if you're doing a lot of barcode scanning, a true scan engine gives you that capability and confidence that you're going to get accurate scans. And you need a barcode reader to fit in industrial purposes. And Xplore offers a range of accessories for the M60. These are designed accessories for the M60, not consumer devices with third-party accessories. And now I'll go ahead and hand it back over to Steve to go into a little bit more depth on some of the tablet benefits.
Thanks, Cliff. I think your description of the M60 handheld clearly addresses the needs of highly mobile workers. But for other environments, the proven device for a mobile field worker is a rugged tablet. They've been around for over 20 years, and the designs have evolved into tailored mobile computers, usually with a 10-inch screen running any software needed, with a ton of accessories. And whilst 10-inch screens work for many people, some need a larger screen. The Xplore X-Slate R12 has a brilliant 12.5-inch screen in a rugged tablet and again, a full set of accessories. All these Slate tablets are truly mobile. Firstly, let's put the thoughts of big and heavy out of your mind. Whilst there have been some hefty rugged notebooks, they were rugged. notebooks, a design that doesn't support workers while they are truly mobile. Today's rugged tablets range from about £2 to £3 for the largest screens and batteries. View Anywhere technology is available with these tablets, presenting a vibrant 10 or 12-inch screen of data clearly visible in bright sunlight. And they run full Windows 10, or older versions of Windows if that is what is required. Anything that runs on any PC will run on the tablet and thus become instantly mobile. Xplore also supports Androids on some of its tablets, which allows the customer to decide what their future is, Windows or Android, and we're not forcing anyone into a one operating environment. And with the tablets, there's many ways to enter data. There's automated functions such as barcode scanning, RFID reading. There's the ability to connect to equipment via serial port connections or using network access to IoT devices. And then as we move to more automation, there's voice dictation, on-screen handwriting, Bluetooth keyboards, and yes, even the on-screen keyboard. And as the world of IT expands, it's essential to have multiple IOs all working together to enable the worker in this changing environment to always have the right input format available at any one time. And they need to survive. Rugged tablets are designed for 4 foot to 6 foot drops, IP54 to IP68, and be vibration proof. Recently at Distributor Tech 2018, Xplore spoke at a session and showed that a light 2.5 pound tablet, which is dropped 4 feet, experiences 244 Gs of force. Imagine a consumer tablet, even in a case, subjected to 244 times the force of gravity, is very likely to be damaged. Rugged tablets are designed to survive this force all day long. Another aspect of this is that vibrations also generate a lot of force too, like in a truck or a forklift that hits floor seams. And a case cannot protect a tablet from vibrations. The tablet moves around inside the case. And a good analogy is like putting an egg in a suitcase, throwing that suitcase up in the air, and when it lands, knowing that the suitcase may survive, but internally the egg hasn't. And as this video shows, Xplore tablets are designed to soak up these forces with no issue. Tablets can be carried as a slate with a shoulder strap and even have fixed handles. These hard handles are very popular with mobile field workers because they are ergonomically helpful. They can be, and often are, mounted in trucks, forklifts, and even large container cranes at large seaports. And the vehicle docks that hold the tablets are also rated for the same harsh environment as the tablet itself. So there is no reduction in capabilities when docked. Tablets are so evolved, there are models that address special needs, like military no-emissions devices or devices for explosive environments. There are tablets that support our military, and the tablets that have ASLOC ratings that will allow them to be used when explosive gases or dusts are present. So for many mobile workers, the tablet is the proven solution. In fact, for workers who spend their full day standing and working, Xplore's handhelds and tablets cover all the bases. But there is another critical mobile workflow that has different needs. Those who spend some of their time standing and working and the rest of their day creating reports. Bob Ashenbrenner is President of Durable Mobility Technologies. He's here to talk about the two-in-one products.
Thanks, Steve. Yes, the tablet does address those many work cases that you've talked about. And one other is that when used with a desk dock, a tablet can be used as a desktop PC with a desktop monitor, keyboard, and mouse. And in fact, most employees at Xplore use their tablets as their office PC. It is fully capable. But the major evolution in tablets has been the development of a two-in-one, best exemplified by the Xplore Xbook. This tablet excels at 2 jobs, as a mobile tablet in the field and as a notebook for use at a table or desk, like by a supervisor or when long-form writing is needed. And there have been a lot of innovations for data entry of tablets, and these are successful for filling in forms and other quick data entry tasks. But a notebook is the most comfortable format for most people when extensive data entry is required. And this means more than offering any old physical keyboard. It means offering a quality keyboard that attaches in a robust way, but still for field workers retains the ability to separate from the keyboard so the tablet can be used as a slate for a true mobile experience. So what is it not? It is not a notebook with a rotating hinge or some other mechanism to move a permanent keyboard out of the way. By the way, among notebook designers, those rotating hinges to move the keyboard behind the LCD are referred to as strangling a chicken. It is that complex of a mechanism. It's hard to get right, it's fragile, and after all that strangling, you still have the keyboard attached to lug around when all you really need is a slate. And that's why the Xbook keyboard is different. It can be easily removed. It isn't an afterthought keyboard that delivers a so-so typing environment. It's an excellent keyboard that works as well as any notebook, yet it can be removed to enable mobile work. It lets mobile workers be both on-site, standing and working, and then use it on any flat surface. They can make up a temporary office at a job site, in a coffee shop, wherever, and finalize reports and perform other managerial tasks. So with the 2-in-1, you can have a notebook-class keyboard wherever your work takes you. Coffee shops, factory break rooms, hotels. It's a perfect device for the truly mobile worker. And the Xplore Xbook has a full array of protection for rugged use. 6-foot operational drops, IP65 protection for dust and water, outdoor viewability, and it runs Windows operating systems, Windows 10 and other versions. And as I've mentioned, the form factor is optimized for attaching an excellent keyboard.
Thanks, Bob. I think we've showed that different people, different workflows have different needs. That's why Xplore offers a class-leading handheld, the industry's best array of mobile tablets, and a 2-in-1 which delivers both mobile and notebook-style work environments.
Yeah, that's right. And on the physical side, there's generally a correlation between how much per shift that a device is used and the type of device. So when a device has to be held and used all day, you'll typically see that it is doing repetitive tasks such as barcode scanning, updating warehouse databases, and generating shipping information. If someone will be carrying one device all day, a handheld is usually what fits the bill. It's small enough and comfortable enough to use all day, but with a full high definition screen, you're able to present a large amount of information that's very useful. So the amount of time that a device will be held and used is a major determining factor. A worker in a warehouse or distribution facility may be scanning pallets and boxes all day long. That would be a great application for a hand.
But consider a worker visiting various sites. Dispatch sends their next appointment to the tablet, which is in a vehicle dock, which then navigates them to the customer. The tablet is then used to engage the customer, perhaps have a work order signed. And the service may be more hands-on, wrench time as it's called, with only occasional need to reference data on the tablet. And then the tablet is used to record completion of the work. But forklifts are an area where the answer isn't as clear between a handheld and a tablet until you know the specific workflow. In some distribution centers, workflow, the worker spends a good amount of time walking. But another common, maybe more common scenario is the use of a dock tablet, rugged enough to handle the jolts and vibrations that it seems all forklifts experience. And the tablet can be used to scan pallets, or an accessory barcode scanner can be used, Bluetooth connected to the tablet, whose larger screen is used to show the operator what is scanned and the next answer. Once again, it all comes down to the workflow. If workers are often engaging directly with material, then a handheld is usually the tool of choice. But if the workflow is that the forklift is a material mover and a mobile office with tablet scanner and label printer, then a tablet is the obvious choice.
Right, and in addition to physical workflows, Xplore realizes that there is as much variety in software as there is in customer work styles. Let's talk about Windows versus Android again. If you think about it, the most important consideration is which software best supports the actual workflow. That workflow will be defined by the software, so you really want to pick the software first. And if that workflow is defined by Windows programs or by the need to access back office databases, then a Windows device is needed. A tablet or a 2-in-1 becomes the form factor of choice. But Android is also a significant operating system in this space, and it is growing rapidly. And with professional builds of Android to better manage battery life and protect against not work-related apps from being installed, we're seeing a lot more software applications that support the field workflow. So if Android is the customer's future, they can consider handhelds or tablets as their form factor.
Yes, software needs can define which mobile device is the best fit. There are also some unique physical demands that drive the choice. Special environmental needs, like hazardous environments, usually supported by slate tablets. Some examples of these specialized cases are explosive environments, oil rigs, pharmaceutical plants, mining, and some food processing plants all have air which may have particles that could explode if a spark is present. Tablets are the devices that will most likely offer ASLOC protection. But consider a pipeline inspector. They may need to travel a long way from a truck, checking a pipeline in rough terrain, in bright sunshine, in the rain, and they may need 8 more hours or more of battery runtime. Tablets have handled workflows like this for years, but don't sell handheld short either. They often have long battery runtimes, offer sunlight viewable screens. Once again, it comes down to how much information the work needs, the software that presents that information, and the specific accessories needed to do the job.
Yeah, that's right, Steve. And there is another aspect to versatility, and that is I/O. Or the ports that enable data to be input and output out of a device. Many devices offer USB ports. That's pretty standard, and an audio out, maybe an expansion memory slot with an SD card, and all have their purposes. But there is a very important legacy port, the RS-232 True Serial port. Many industrial machines have operated for years, and they're designed to last for a very long time, and they have these legacy ports included on them. And you're much more likely to find a true serial port on a tablet versus any other type of device. And by true serial, we mean one that retains the software's ability to manipulate each pin, each signal of the port that's needed. So that would be all 9 pins, including a power pin that's often needed whenever you need to write information to a serial port, not just read it. And the USB-based serial ports, which you'll often see in serial dongles, actually do not offer that flexibility. So it's an important distinction to understand whenever you're looking at these legacy connections.
That's an important point, but there's a whole different category of work for which a lot of data entry is part of the job. Think about inspectors, supervisors, and even in the event of a crisis, public safety has to coordinate work between lots of different organizations and agencies. And they need to do more than just check a box on a form. And that's why 2-in-1s exist. They're very mobile, more mobile than notebooks. They perform the tablet function when the worker is standing and working. But they also have the ideal notebook type of keyboard for when data entry is required. Sometimes the worker, really a truly information worker, needs to interpret inspection results. There may be the need to describe an observed deficiency, or a few paragraphs need to be written on the need to remedy a situation. Similarly, public safety officers may need more than a handheld or a tablet when responding to a situation that needs coordination between a number of different agencies, or when completing the many reports that are required at the end of their shifts.
Yeah, those are good points, Bob. One thing, tablets do generally have the biggest array of accessories, which is another critical piece of the puzzle. In fact, at Xplore, we recommend that customers first consider their software needs, that they actually need to get the work done for their workflow, and then consider which accessories they need to complement that software, so that the workflow before they consider the type of mobile device they need. Too often, customers put the cart before the horse, and they pick a cool tablet or a handheld and then try to fit a limited set of software choices or a limited set of accessories onto the device. Tablets have addressed the true mobile workforce for the longest, so that they have the most varied accessories. Vehicle docks and desk docks are the most important, but so are also barcode scanners, RFID readers, specialized connections like HDMI-in reader, battery charging bays, carry cases, and many others. 2-in-1s often share many of these accessories, and thus a 2-in-1 is often a true tablet solution with an additional notebook-like way to use the device. And handhelds also have a wide array of accessories tailored more to the type of work that they're being used in. So you'll see, holsters are more common, charging bays are almost always a choice, and again, barcode scan engines, if not standard, are an important accessory for these devices.
So I think we've been backwards and forwards across all of the range of devices, and it comes down to which device is best, perhaps. I think we've outlined a way to map a customer's needs to the type of device that best fits the worker. Remember, the right device is the one that fits the customer's workflow the best. Everyone is different. That's why there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. For more on mapping the right device to the right workflow, please contact us on the shown email. And again, I'd like to thank Cliff Adams and Bob Ashenbrenner for the discussion today. I'm Steve Priestley, VP of International Sales at Xplore Technologies. I'd like to thank you for watching this webinar, and I'll hand back over to Kris.
Steve, thanks for handing back. And yes, just to add my own thanks, Steve, Cliff, and Bob, an excellent conversation there. Interesting to see some of the developments, especially around the M60 as well. I've just been furiously scribbling away as I always do in these webcasts, making some notes that I'd just like to put a couple of additional questions to you, if I may. The first one is kind of going back to the one of the earlier slides, and also my own personal experience, having had the opportunity to review the R12, for example, which I remember writing in the review. It was a very sleek tablet. It was something that looked a million miles away from when you think of rugged. Back in the day, I think one of you mentioned real chunky, heavyweight devices, and something like the R12 is, it's a very sleek, lightweight tablet for a fully rugged device. But then we see people like Samsung or other consumer brands that are putting out IP68 devices. I think my smartphone, my Samsung Note 8 is IP68. Are those lines blurring between the two technologies? And is there more to why an organization should choose a rugged manufacturer than just the specs these days? Is there an element of understanding the industry, understanding the enterprise, and be able to guide your clients through what is right for them? Or is there something that we're not missing? Are the consumer device guys pulling a trick on us by kind of waving around some stats that look very rugged? I don't know if any of you want to jump in on that question first.
But Kris, it's Steve, and I'm sure everybody's got a viewpoint, but let me just make a start by saying, I think you raise a very good point of, are the lines blurring? And I think at Xplore, with over 20 years of experience, we would say maybe the words are blurring, but the principles of building a rugged device are not blurred. They're fairly common. We have built rugged devices from the ground up with the most rugged of architectures to support all the elements of rugged mobile working. And I think one of the areas where people often get confused is IP68. Well, what does that mean in an enterprise environment? What's most important in the enterprise environment is for us to be able to demonstrate that we are rugged, we are classified in the industry standard specifications, but our product still has all of the appropriate I/O, accessories, and capabilities to run the workflow for the mobile worker. And that has to be the same across all our devices. And we may share some common specs with consumer devices, but that doesn't mean they're as rugged as the products we provide. Bob, Cliff, do you have?
That's right. I want to jump in on the IP68 comment for a second. And a lot of consumer devices have very little I/O. As Cliff mentioned earlier, I/O is really important in sales. But without I/O, it's really easy to make an IP68 device. There are no openings, or very few, to worry about for water or dust to get in. So these consumer devices have kind of stumbled upon an IP68 rating and thought, hey, that's one of the things the rugged guys talk about. Let's declare that we're rugged. Well, that's not it. IP68 is one feature. It doesn't cover drops. It doesn't cover vibrations. It doesn't cover all kinds of different abuse like vibrations and such. So don't be fooled by one rating that they accidentally got when that's a small piece of the big picture.
Yeah, and if I can just add a little bit to that. So one thing that the IP rating doesn't give you in terms of dealing with a rugged environment, there's no or they have limited temperature ranges. So if you're going to be operating out in direct sunlight or in the weather and extremely cold conditions, that wide temperature range is something that you will not find on a consumer device. And if you need to be able to perform, then a rugged device is the obvious choice there. And especially on the tablet side, where you're running full-featured software applications that demand a lot of computing power, a sealed consumer tablet will not have a fan, and the fan is actually critical in order to maintain the full power of that CPU in those hot environments. So, the Xplore rugged tablets have internal fans that are isolated from the elements, so they can still have a high IP rating, but still be able to dissipate that heat and maintain that productive power.
That's really interesting, because it's these kind of nuanced details that can often get overlooked. So it's things like the fans. I always find as well, you mentioned the hotter environments. Of course, the other thing there is the outdoor, and the screen resolution. Is it nits rating? Forgive me if I've got that wrong, but the brightness of the screen is always a major thing that gets overlooked as well in consumer devices. You need to be able to see the bloody thing, and quite honestly, if anyone's used a consumer device in direct sunlight, it's pretty hard, and that's going to hamper your job as well. So thanks for that, guys. Some great insight. The next question I wanted to ask, if I may, is it was mentioned that some of your clients would use a device up to 5, maybe even 7 years. The number that's generally thrown around is 3 years is a good shelf life to have a device. Anything less than that, and of course you're going through the headache of rolling out and implementing new devices every 5 minutes, which can be a challenge. How should an organization decide what's right for them? How should they know, right, 3 years, now we need to move on? But they may not need to. Like you said, some of your clients are using devices for longer, or the other way, conversely, they may think, right, we've had these devices, we've sweated them a bit too much. How do companies go through that thought process in terms of understanding when is right to implement a new series of devices?
Bob, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Well, most companies, when they are deploying tablets, they create a project. Think about a 3-year time frame, because 3 years is a good time frame to roll out new technology and have an ROI that goes positive pretty quickly. But the real issue is, does it still do the job? And most of that comes down to software. If the original device, mobile device, has enough processing power and memory to handle software, especially the updates that are pretty frequent and new capabilities being added, then that's where you tend to see people saying, hey, this is still working. I can upgrade my software. It's 5 years, it's 7 years. And that's when you see the longer uses in the field.
Thanks, Bob. I think, to answer your question slightly differently, Kris, there's a couple of things that go through my mind when this discussion comes up. Firstly, there's a financial discussion which says, how long will the equipment be depreciated in the enterprise's financial statements? And typically 3 years is a good answer for that. It fits well with other technologies, and it allows them to look at it in a common way. But that doesn't describe how it's used in the field. The challenge that Xplore faces is that, things will dictate outside of this what the life cycle of the device is. It could be something simple as data security, cybersecurity, that causes a change in equipment to drive an additional set of features. Or it could be that everything is absolutely fine, as Bob described, and after the 3-year period, they're getting free use for as long as they need to. I think one of the things that Xplore would point to is that in our longest serving platform, we iterated the device to stay on top of the processing and memory and computing capabilities of the device for 17 years.
Wow.
17 years of a single ecosystem that an enterprise could get around. And yes, the device changed over time, but it remained the same form factor, and it allowed an enterprise to be stable in its use. Whether that enterprise is a government facility, military is a good example, or somebody working in a pharmaceutical clean room where the top end of the specification is required. That's the kind of thing Xplore looks to, being on top of the changing technical and customer requirements, as well as providing stability for a long period of time, both in its service and its product capabilities.
Excellent. Cliff, any thoughts on that as well? Sorry.
That's a great point. I was actually going to say something pretty similar to that, especially versus consumer devices, where you'll see a new model come out that has a slightly different form factor because they're going after that aesthetic. Whereas a rugged device, we're really tailor-made for enterprise environments. So change isn't necessarily good in those environments. Stability is something that enables them to keep their costs lower and have the devices deployed longer. And at Xplore, we understand that. So we build our chassis so that they can be upgraded over the years, but still maintain a common accessory ecosystem over those generational upgrades. And so it's that sort of thinking and that approach to the market that allows us to hit those higher deployment times.
Of course, that kind of covers off another of those points as well that kind of sometimes can get overlooked. One of the points that was made in the presentation was the series of accessories that are designed with an understanding of the workflow and are designed to complement the device completely in terms of understanding the ruggedity, the rugged specs, vibration elements and reductions in the vehicle, for example. Of course, if you're switching out every 5 minutes, then that becomes a very expensive thing if you have to invest in new accessories as well. One final question then for you guys, and this kind of feeds a little bit off the last question. We kind of talked at Field Service News in the past. I think it was echoed a little bit throughout your presentation that companies should have an understanding of the workflow of their different engineers. One organization may have a number of different engineer functions within their organization. And it makes sense for different engineers that have different needs and perhaps have different devices. Firstly, if you guys could speak to that a little bit and whether you kind of concur with that kind of decision, concur with that viewpoint that we came to. But secondly, how does an organization make that decision and not have the tail wagging the dog in terms of having too many devices? I mean, what is too many devices for a field service organization, and how do we kind of make that decision? Guys, again, whoever wants to jump in on that first, please do.
So, Cliff, do you want to kick us off?
Well, yeah, sure. So it's important to have the right device for the right person and the right workflow. And so, at Xplore, we offer, first of all, an array of device form factors. Also, within the tablet form factor, we have an array of computing options. So you can get, an entry level CPU if that works for the user, and they don't need, a top of the line processor, then that's an option as well. But we also offer within the same form factor, high performance options, different I/O options. So there's a way that they can, as an organization, can manage a smaller number of devices and still provide some choice to the user, so that they're putting the right device and the right worker in front of the right worker at the right time. So,
excellent.
And just to add to that, I think one of the things that we talked about very early on is the definition of the software to support the workflow you're trying to describe and automate in the hands of the worker. Often that will dictate the type of data that needs to be input, the type of data that needs to be viewed, and the type of data that any business information is driven from often dictates the type of device that the worker's going to use. And as Cliff said in an earlier part of the presentation, if it's a lot of form filling, repetitive task, barcode scanning, a handheld fits that bill very well. And as you move between that and our 12-inch, very much that is dictated to by the workflow itself. And we think, that our range of products allows us to put the right number of products or the right type of products into the hands of the worker to support the workflow.
Chris,
excellent. Bob, you've got the final comment.
Hey, Chris, let me add a few specific examples, if I may. In utilities, you'll tend to see all the repair workers will use one kind of device, but meter readers and meter repair is a whole different area, and you might see handhelds there. And another example might be in law enforcement, where the beat officers, the officers at the front line, may be using a tablet, but detectives in the same police department tend to gravitate toward 2-in-1s. So those are a couple examples of how different organizations make these choices.
Excellent. Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. It's good to have that kind of visual clarity as well. So thanks for that, Bob. It helps kind of see that, especially the example of law enforcement makes perfect sense. Because the Bobby on the beat, as we would say here in the UK, needs the mobility, whereas, like you say, a detective is going to be doing a lot more long form data input in terms of writing up reports, etc. So I think that's quite a good visual way of understanding it. Well, listen, Steve, Cliff, Bob, I would just like to say thank you ever so much for joining us on this webcast. It's been really, really insightful. I think it was an excellent presentation, and thanks so much for joining us for this panel at the end, because great to pull a little bit more knowledge out of you guys, because there's plenty in there for sure. Other than that, it's just for me to say thank you to everybody that's tuned in and watching this. As always, my name is Kris Oldland, Editor-in-Chief of Field Service News. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.